Buckle your seatbelts. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit. This video is apparently forbidden in most countries, and it's clear why. The footage shows two lit up objects in the sky. They're both moving slightly, with one of them moving a bit faster than the other and in different directions. The lights blink as the unidentified flying device on the bottom moves up towards the one above it. Suddenly they fuse and it sends a shockwave through the sky like a bolt of lightning. What in the heck just happened here? The uploaders stumbled across the freaky forbidden video in the summer of 2018. Some think it's most likely a clip from an indie movie. Redditor The Lovely Raven 313 points out, if this actually happened, the media would be on it. Many agree with this sentiment, while some are willing to suspend their disbelief. When asked what it is, the Redditor admits he doesn't know. That's why I'm posting this, to try and solve the mystery, he writes. Can you solve the mystery? I'm at a loss here. A YouTuber named Exploring with Perks is checking out an old abandoned home with one of the creepiest basements he has ever seen. Possible remains rest outside of an old hole in the wall, with the rest of the body possibly on the other side. And later on, he finds the remnants of what I hope is just a stuffed animal. Then he gets out fast. I can't say I blame him. This place just might be haunted by something nefarious. Published by Humboldt Pet Supply in October of 2018, the store's security camera footage reveals a series of creepy incidents that cannot be explained. The first involves a package falling off a shelf on its own. The shop attendant continues to shelve items and then heads over to put the package back. A moment later, after she walks away, the package falls from the shelf again. This time it also moves across the floor a bit on its own. Another clip shows a cat named Diego pacing the shop. An incongruent shadow cat appears in the light from the doorway. There don't appear to be any other cats in the store but the real and the shadow one. In a third clip, another package falls from its place and moves strangely across the floor. It drifts slowly until it catches Diego, the cat's attention. As the cat approaches it tentatively, the package moves, causing Diego to jump. The cat paws it for a second before he decides he wants nothing to do with this. The package continues across the floor on its own. Is this perhaps the shadow cat playing around with the real one? Seems pretty catty to me. More proof that ignorance is bliss. If you knew what monsters lurked below, would you ever put your boat out? Simon Lawrence published this drone footage of a great white having a go at a 7-meter crab boat near Port Lincoln, South Australia in October of 2017. You can see the enormous shark drift carelessly beneath the boat. At first, the shark appears to have no interest in his two-legged friends or their curious contraption, but then the shark does a 180 and returns, appearing to nudge the rear of the boat. In the video description, Lawrence notes what happened. The shark surfaced after we pulled the pod off him, while he was swimming off with it. We didn't drag the shark, nor did it drag us. It did, however, put its nose against the motor and started to push us around. It then put its mouth over the echo sounder transducer. You can see the shark surface a couple times, which is quite scary in and of itself, just as the face above the water is a little too Jaws-esque for the faint of heart. You can also see the shark move against the motor, although it doesn't seem to have caused any damage. After a while, the shark bugs off and takes a rope with it. Another scary encounter with our big-toothed friends from down under. On March 17th, 2021, members of Museo del Horror traveled to a derelict building in an unknown city in Mexico, live streaming the entire adventure. Just after beginning their investigation, the group ventures to the side of the building. As they come to some stairs on the side, a faint growl can be heard on the audio. None of the participants noticed it during filming, but viewers were quick to point it out in the comments. It sounds either like a growl or an attempt to whisper something, but it is difficult to determine what. From here, they enter the building, which is hollowed out and falling apart. Nothing of note happens until just after the 40-minute mark of the stream. A high-pitched noise can be heard, almost like a screech or another hiss, albeit longer than the previous one heard. It's also possible that this was the sound of something rubbing against another object, similar to metal rubbing against metal. The last speculation is it could be someone breathing in, possibly one of the explorers, although nobody else seems to be around except Alfondo holding the camera, and he starts speaking before the sound goes away.
Si está bien la distancia, todo está bien.
The team decides to conduct a Ouija board session, which is not recommended for amateur explorers, by the way, to see if they can get any activity. Not long after starting, a very faint voice can be heard on the audio.
¿Hay alguien aquí?
Oh, escucha.
It sounds as if there are words in there, but it is almost impossible to make out. The voice can be heard speaking over questions being asked. Could someone be trying to communicate? Soon they get an answer of yes on the board after being asked a question, and the board remains active for some time. When asked if it is a man, it responds no. Throughout the session, dogs can be heard barking wildly in the background. The dogs were rather quiet prior to starting the Ouija board, and now they are nearly frantic. Animals are known to be sensitive of the paranormal. Could they be distressed at what the team is doing? Or is there another explanation? In the midst of this session, by far the most bizarre event happens. Alfondo's attention is called away to a strange light manifesting on the opposite side of the building from where they are. In the opposite corner, it appears as if a flame has been lit, flickering. Suspicious others might be in the building. They call out and make their way to the area. One of the team members shows a few photos she took, and along with the glow of a fire, the windows make it appear to be daylight outside. However, the video camera always showed the windows to be dark. Furthermore, the photo camera was not using a flash, meaning it could not be a reflection. What could this mean? They decide to do a spirit box session, and instantly, the sounds the box makes sound straight out of a horror movie itself. While it is most likely caused by the rapid switching through radio frequencies, we have never heard another session sound as terrifying as this. Alfondo walks with the device to the other end of the building, and throughout hears some disturbing sounds. First, what sounds like someone wailing in distress. The most disturbing capture of the night is what sounds like a child crying out in fear or pain. It's hard to imagine what could have happened at the location, as it appears some manner of horrors still reside there, endlessly crying out in the afterlife. YouTuber from India called Explore Dark goes on a paranormal investigation at an abandoned house that's beyond creepy and also beyond haunted. Nothing happens for a full 11 minutes until they clear the first floor and find the second floor has been mysteriously blocked off.
Stop. भाई निकलेंगे चल।
After removing the barricade and going upstairs, their paranormal investigation goes majorly wrong.
बहुत हो गया चल निकल यहाँ से।
पता चल 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 इधर इधर
भाई
They run to where they last heard the loudest sound and find the room to be empty. The scary moment caught on tape is when the team of would-be ghost hunters finally lose their cool.
पहले वहां से वही चिल रही थी वहां से
They run out of the house in record time and are left panting on the street. I don't think they were close enough to this door to reach out and slam it themselves. It almost had to be the work of a ghost. Arachnophobes beware. This video is straight out of Ron Weasley's Nightmares, published by Exotic Slayer in October of 2018. Footage of this spider will remind you why so many people fear them. The Goliath bird eater is the world's largest spider by mass and size. Goliath calls South America home, and its leg span is second only to the giant huntsman spider. Goliath is called a bird eater for a reason. A copper engraving, made by Maria Sibylla Marian, in the 18th century depicts the giant spider chowing down on a hummingbird, but don't worry, birds aren't often the spider's prey. Rather, he prefers worms, amphibians, insects, and other arachnopods, although Goliath has been known to eat things as large as rodents, lizards, and snakes. Imagine running into this spider in your jungle lair. It's what nightmares are made of. Sophie Dosey is a talented contortionist with a twisted sense of humor, so to speak. Here she does a crab walk backwards at top speeds, with her head barely hanging above the floor. This is a really creative, ingenious way to scare people that I've never seen done before, but I can't help but think it's a little dangerous too. I mean, if she steps on her hair while walking like this, her neck could snap all the way back. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I think I see it almost happen multiple times as she races down the aisle, which adds a whole new level of fear to the overall situation. John of a paranormal channel called Exploration Unknown investigates an abandoned farmhouse late at night. He and two other ghost hunters split up and then reconvened downstairs to discuss what they found, which was little more than some empty rooms and loose steps.
The floors upstairs are pretty spongy. I did it, but I doubt it.
After talking with Tim, John walks through the first floor, and at 11 minutes a shadow figure is caught on tape moving above him.
We've got the K2 meter over here in this window. We're getting things set up. Alright. And then in here, we got Josh on the porch.
It's not Josh because Josh is on the porch outside, and it's not Tim because they just had a conversation about how dangerous the floor was up there. And for some reason the legs remain covered in darkness, even though enough light hits the area to show the banister is brown. So there's a strong chance that this ghost video is real. Is Lainey and Ben's poltergeist getting stronger? Watch this video and judge for yourself. As usual, the poltergeist seems to be most active in the kitchen.
Activity more and more aggressive.
He has even resorted to ruining their dinner.
Poltergeist just seem to be so frustrated.
Oh, bless them. Oh, bless them.
And he isn't finished. It goes without saying that Lainey and Ben share space with one of the most active poltergeists on YouTube. I don't know if Dave and Andy are becoming more aggressive due to anger, or if their YouTube following is cheering them on. It's a shark, it's a duck, it's neither of those things at all. In September of 2017, YouTuber Jack Heath posted this video of an unidentified creature swimming in a river. He asks his audience to weigh in, saying his friends couldn't decide if it is a shark or a duck. The short clip shows a dark river at night, lights reflecting off the water. For a good 20 seconds, you can't see anything at all, although you can hear voices speculating on whether something unseen is a shark or a duck. That is, until this spooky ghost white creature nearly surfaces at the edge of the water.
It's a duck! I'm sorry.
Oh, look, stop squeezing it.
That is exactly how it happened, so here it comes.
Doesn't look like a shark or a duck at all. As YouTuber Tweedle notes in the comments, his friends were obviously talking about what caused the wake in the water earlier in the clip, not this unidentified monster that briefly appears up close towards the end. Is a plesiosaurus or something like that. He writes, though they're originally from a time period of many millions of years ago, so are alligators. They're thought to be extinct, but maybe they're not. After all, they wouldn't be the first creature thought to be extinct that's found to be still alive. While this might seem like a good guess, the OP mentions in the comments that the ghastly creature was just an eerily convincing art installation. Whoever thought art could make your heart stop? A YouTuber named Exploring with Perks is checking out an old abandoned home with one of the creepiest basements he has ever seen. Possible remains rest outside of an old hole in the wall, with the rest of the body possibly on the other side. And later on, he finds the remnants of what I hope is just a stuffed animal. Then he gets out fast. I can't say I blame him. It's not often you see two trains so close on the same track, occurring near Smith Falls in Ontario, Canada in 1992. The footage shows a passenger train that needed to hit the emergency brakes while en route to Toronto. The passenger train appears to be traveling at a fairly fast speed when a stationary freight train comes into view down the track. As the commuter has little time to slow, the engineer stumbles out of the locomotive cab. In the meantime, the freighter backs up slowly while the commuter train has managed to brake hard enough to come to a complete stop right in the nick of time. The approach left no more than 6 feet between the locomotives, a close call that makes little to no sense as to why or how it happened. Some people think photographs capture the soul. Maybe this soul didn't want to be captured. Published by Dark Life in June of 2021, this poltergeist isn't playing around. While snapping photos in this haunted room, Russian paranormal investigator Dennis hears a rustling that he says sounds like it's coming from the basement. As he continues to take pictures, a massive wardrobe to his right is pushed over onto the ground. He leaves the room, and when he goes to re-enter it, he hears some strange sparking noises while standing in the doorway. The sounds stop. He looks around, asks who is there, but no one answers. Still, he appears to sense something watching him. Is Dennis alone here, or are the spirits all around him? A scary video from Albany looks like creepy things are about to happen at night, but when Mike Leiss takes the camera to the window, you can see a big problem. It's the middle of the day, possibly the last for him and his family, as a terrible change looms in the sky. What happens next haunts them forever. At 9:16, a tree almost connects with the side of their house. The only thing that saved them were winds blowing slightly away from their home. When so much scary stuff happens to you at once, there really is only one reaction. I'm sure they were expecting to capture some scary moments on camera, but nothing like this. Almost losing your home, whether you actually did in the end or not, is one of the scariest things imaginable. This footage comes from a hotel camera in New York that's near Niagara Falls. Shane Sovar is a hotel manager who claims to have seen a large triangular UFO shoot past by his window one night. An on-duty hotel security officer backs up this claim and says that he saw it too. They contact an amateur UFO group called the Aerial Phenomenon Investigations Team, who does a standard investigation and leaves. Things get very odd soon after. Around 2 weeks after the aerial phenomenon was finished their investigation, a pair of men dressed in all black suits reportedly entered the hotel and began to interrogate witnesses for more information. They specifically wanted to know where Shane and the hotel security guard could be found. Shane said that people who had spoken with the men later told him how strange they looked. They were tall, pale, had no eyebrows or eyelashes, and basically looked exactly the same. They had especially large and unsettling eyes, and one woman told Shane that she felt like they were able to read her mind. Whether these two men were simply businessmen on vacation or actual government agents is anyone's guess, but Shane swears that he is telling the truth. Exactly what the team of UFO investigators had found during their investigation, along with whatever these men were looking for, has never been released to the public. A series of unfortunate events leads us to no answers in this video. The security footage was taken in September of 2015 at around 1 in the morning. The footage appears to be taken outside a shop after some heavy rain. Two men are standing outside, one on the pavement, one at the door. After a moment, something grabs the man standing on the pavement. Water is splashing around like the incident is happening in a puddle. The man falls to the ground and the other man near the door attempts to come to his aid, grabbing his arms. He is pushed back though and runs off toward the door to get help. The man continues to fend off the invisible force before being dragged out of sight. The man returns from inside, looking as though he's on the phone. He searches around for the man and walks toward the water. Then a large figure comes flying at him. It's not clear if it's the man returning to safety or something else. In slow motion, it looks like it's crawling on all fours. It chases the man inside, knocking the door on the way in. A moment later, a mysterious figure in a black cloak exits the building. What is happening here? Who grabbed that man? What gave chase into the building? And who is this cloaked figure? Unfortunately, we are left with no answers, only questions. A possible ghost sighting in the Indian town of Kudail has left construction worker witnesses wondering what it was they saw walking around late at night. You can hear them talking about the figure when suddenly it lets out a loud scream that all of them hear over the construction equipment. This video is real, warns the uploader, who says that this was taken by his sister's friend at 2:30 in the morning. I'm not sure if I believe him or not, but if I lived in the area, I definitely wouldn't take the chance of walking around early in the morning and finding out. A woman has a full-on break from reality while on public transportation. She carries a full conversation with herself in some sort of laughing tone that only she can understand. Then she becomes absolutely overwhelmed with grief before snapping out of it. When someone approaches her to offer comfort, she switches back to laughter with a glare. The person wisely keeps their distance and does not come any closer. Next, the woman pulls out a dirty towel with stains and disappears into her own world, apparently laughing again. I really hope she gets the help she needs, because this seems like some sort of mental episode that needs to be treated fast. She and everyone around her are lucky that this didn't escalate to the point where someone had to physically intervene. This footage comes from a hotel camera in New York that's near Niagara Falls. Shane Sovar is a hotel manager who claims to have seen a large triangular UFO shoot past by his window one night. An on-duty hotel security officer backs up this claim and and says that he saw it too. They contact an amateur UFO group called the Aerial Phenomenon Investigations Team, who does a standard investigation and leaves. Things get very odd soon after. Around 2 weeks after the aerial phenomenon was finished their investigation, a pair of men dressed in all black suits reportedly entered the hotel and began to interrogate witnesses for more information. They specifically wanted to know where Shane and the hotel security guard could be found. Shane said that people who had spoken with the men later told him how strange they looked. They were tall, pale, had no eyebrows or eyelashes, and basically looked exactly the same. They had especially large and unsettling eyes, and one woman told Shane that she felt like they were able to read her mind. Whether these two men were simply businessmen on vacation or actual government agents is anyone's guess, but Shane swears that he is telling the truth. Exactly what the team of UFO investigators had found during their investigation, along with whatever these men were looking for, has never been released to the public. A small cluster of weird deep-sea creatures seemed to be embedded inside a piece of coral that broke off and floated ashore. One of the creatures is still moving and seems to retreat from the camera upon getting sighted. I wonder what they look like out of their coral encasement. Probably even scarier. Anyway, no one has identified these unknown creatures in the comments, and the uploader of this video describes them only as weird creatures at the beach and leaves it at that. So let's help solve the mystery and figure out what these are. What are you afraid of? What can really make you scream? This entry was submitted to the Chills Narrator subreddit. The user explains that the clip was found on TikTok. Footage shows a guy sleeping at 1:16 in the morning with the text, "He snores so loud." According to the video, the next night is shown subsequently. This time, the man is sleeping in a very awkward position, with his arms up in the air. Even stranger, the drawer from the bedside table appears to open of its own accord. A short time later, the man is in a new position, and as he turns over, if you focus on the nightstand, a bottle slides strangely sideways, falling on the floor. The man appears to be suffering from some evil spirit being exorcised, as his body contorts aggressively on the bed.
I don't know if this guy's just being an asshole, but he won't shut the... Stop. Hey, what the f...
Whoever is taking the video leaves the room, and when he returns, the sleeping man is kneeling in the corner. What's going on here? It is suggested could just be night terrors. Others lean more towards the paranormal, however. They suggest the man is possessed. What do you think? Paranormal activity? Possession? It is certainly baffling, and I think we need more footage to fully solve this mystery. Jonathan FOD and his friends go exploring an abandoned meat processing facility building that everyone in town says is haunted, but the air quotes around ghost seems to mean he doesn't quite believe it.
So supposedly, there's a ghost that roams around here.
Soon he will.
Shit. Hey!
Who's here?
As Jonathan FOD and his two friends are ghost hunting in some kind of tool shed, they get what they think could be some paranormal evidence caught on tape.
What the? Yo, y'all heard that, bro? What the fuck is that? Bro. Is anybody there?
All three of them are on camera when these noises happen. You can see they are just standing there with their hands down, so it can't be them. Maybe Jonathan had a fourth person making all of that noise, but I don't see how they could have faked that ghost EVP at 8 minutes and 50 seconds. It really does sound like the muffled voice of a small child.
What the? Bro, y'all heard that, bro? What the fuck is that?
Don't believe in unknown beings? What if one strolled right up to tap on your window? This unknown being footage, posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by 77Curen, will inspire you to take a trip over to Area 51. The footage shows an unknown being approach the window of a home. Its features are quite clear, with black gashes for eyes and an elongated cranium. You know, the kind of features you might expect from an unknown being. The unknown being stands there, peering into the home, observing. It even looks as though it's trying to find a way to open the window. If that is indeed what it's doing, it doesn't succeed, instead slinking off, perhaps to find the homeowner to take him. What do you think of this unknown being footage, real or fake? Either way, I'll be locking my windows tonight. Rian Silver is a paranormal explorer who searches every abandoned house that he can find in the hopes that it's haunted by a djinn for him to catch on camera. Most of his videos have absolutely nothing paranormal in them, seemingly an abandoned house with nothing in it, just 20 minutes of creeping around empty room after room. But one of his scariest videos of all is paranormal beyond belief and has left him seriously creeped out ever since. He calls it the real horror house. Here's why. A strange sensation leaves him shaking before he's even cleared the main floor. The real horror house is different from any place he's ever been before. It feels truly haunted.
لا إله إلا الله أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق.
At 2 minutes and 8 seconds, a pair of glowing eyes stares at them from the window. It's not a cat. 9 seconds later, this creature with glowing eyes is seen outside the doorway. As they are leaving the room, a faint groan is heard behind them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
As they reach the top of the stairs, they see another shadow figure that dips into the doorway upon their approach. They pursue and the weirdness follows close behind.
हम लास्ट फ्लोर तक आए हैं. यहाँ पे क्या है? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق.
A sudden chill gives Rian raised goosebumps. He's showing them to the camera when all of the sudden,
ये देखिए मोंटे खड़े हो गए हाथ के. बिस्मिल्लाह. ऊपर से आवाज आई है.
bone-chilling laughter now fills the abandoned house. I was thinking maybe it's people playing outside, but who would be playing in the middle of the night by an abandoned house? I think it's coming from inside and very close by. Things get even more creepy when they reach the basement. Down here is where they find a single square opening to a secret hidden holding room with no way out. It looks like somebody might have been kept in this secret room for a long time. Rian doesn't dare climb in, but who knows what they would have discovered if he did. Could something in this creepy room also be the source of whatever's haunting this abandoned building? When they record inside, this freaky EVP is what's caught on camera. A tiny voice screams up at them from within, very faint but unmistakable when you hear it. Is this the final resting place of someone who fell in and can't get out? I think that might be the case. While crossing a bridge on a foggy night, this motorist witnessed a live vanishing act. Posted to TikTok, a biker is seen up ahead. The motorist looks right and then left while crossing the bridge. The biker is still in front of him, but he is getting more and more lost in the fog. And then suddenly, the biker disappears altogether, even as the fog clears up ahead. Where did he go? Wherever he went, humans were clearly not meant to see it. A person cautiously follows a winding road at night using only the light on their phone to guide them. They sense danger on the right and look over. Nothing is there, but their feeling of being watched does not go away. So they look over again, and that's when they make contact. A short creature with a portly body atop long legs does its best to escape the flashlight. At 1 minute and 36 seconds, we see that the overall gray coloring of the creature, when under the light, does match the rest of the background remarkably well. There's no obvious blurring around the edges of the creature either, which indicates that this may in fact be authentic, unedited footage. This YouTuber didn't notice what he'd captured on camera until he played it back later, and when he saw it, he was scared. Published by Sphinx 2720 in March of 2010, the scary video was taken at Gettysburg. The investigator is standing amongst some boulders at the beginning of the clip. He says the cluster of rocks is called Devil's Den. As he walks around the den, he appears to capture the devil himself. What looks like a large cloaked shadow figure is looming right in front of the den. Another oddity occurs at the beginning of the video and was noted by Akeo Ateo in the comments. As the investigator is getting his bearings with his camera, a dark figure in the distance beyond the nearby rock is spotted lurking past. What is going on here at Gettysburg? Do these figures have anything to do with the area's history? Oftentimes, we see movements out of the corner of our eye, and we think we're imagining things. What if we aren't? Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Kid Blast Double, this clip got Redditors up in arms. The video shows someone entering their backyard with their dog, but check out the fence beyond. A shadow figure can clearly be seen fleeting across the yard. It arrives behind the tree and doesn't move beyond. Apart from slightly peeking from around the tree, which can be seen on the close-up of the clip, the top comment was from Redditor Dads for Sons, who said he'd watched the clip on repeat a million times, and his first reaction was, "Whoa, the slow-mo gives him the chills," he says. In response, Redditor Paul VS88 points out that the OP, Big Pappy Thunder, said, "Honestly didn't think anyone would get it, or that it would somehow get nearly 7,000 upvotes, but here we are. Figured I'd bamboozle maybe 5 people, then take it down for a laugh." Redditors with a sense of humor had a laugh about it. Tactius Kilgore writes, "The shadow people have him and are in control of his Reddit account." There was one oddity in the video that was unedited, however, the thing peeking, but Thunder thinks that it was more likely a light from far away or from the yard behind than the shadow ghost that he'd edited into the footage. Still, this video will likely have you second guessing the next thing you see out of the corner of your eye. Everyone knows seedy stuff happens under bridges, and YouTuber Last Leaf Studio found evidence of this in July of 2016, posting a video entitled, "Some creature creeps under the pedestrian bridge in Kiev." The footage shows traffic passing by on a highway in Ukraine's capital, as the cameraman is posted alongside a pedestrian walkway. Scanning the scene, the camera lands on the pedestrian bridge overhead. Look closely here. Beneath the bridge, you can see a large creature, apparently somehow holding onto the underside of this bridge, creeping across it bit by bit. You can even see its limbs move as it makes its way across. At first in darkness, the figure makes its way towards the light. A close-up of the creature reveals that this figure is distinctive. Its outline and limbs seem to be that of a human, or at least that of a humanoid creature. But what human can traverse the underbelly of a bridge like that, and why would they? The other option is that it's something with an immense amount of strength. What do you think it is? A YouTuber is walking around the local swamps when he stumbles upon a tree unlike any he has ever seen before.
Pretty creepy.
A grimacing skeletal face of solid oak emerges from the trunk. Its sagging eyes, ceased brow, pointy nose with 2 nostrils, and squared chin are all clearly visible. You don't even have to squint your eyes or look at a certain angle to see it. It's there right away, and it's even sitting on a long twisted neck. There's no way to carve this, and the green speckles on its cheek perfectly match the markings found elsewhere on the wood. In other words, this isn't some kind of Hollywood sculpture plaster. It's an actual face found on a tree in the middle of nowhere. A reminder that you never know what or who is behind you. This short clip will have you looking over your shoulder. The video shows a man entering a small elevator. A ghostly woman enters slightly behind him. You can see her in the mirror, distracted on his phone. The man doesn't seem to notice he has company, but when he turns around, the woman has vanished. He is alone in the lift, or at least appears to be. Those in the comments are dying to know where the phantom stalker went, and whether or not this man made it out of the elevator. I hope he's alright, but it's really not looking like that's the case. Meteors keep flying over Japan, and they keep getting weirder each time. This relatively normal one, spotted in February of 2013, looks to be on a downward course until it burns up in the atmosphere at the last second. Then just 1 year later, another one manages to get even closer, this time piercing a cloud. When this small plane's propeller stopped moving, it was forced to emergency land. We're now experiencing engine failure, says the man videotaping the event. If there's a place to land, we shall be okay. He speaks rather calmly considering their propeller froze mid-air. The sky around the hilly region appears murky, and there's clearly some strong wind tearing at the aircraft. Find a flat ground so that rescue vehicles can come in, the man says. He places all responsibility on the pilot, telling him it all relies on your experience now. The pair find a piece of land in the water to force landing upon, and again he emphasizes how they're all relying on the captain. The plane quickly descends and hits the ground with a thud. They strike a rock, but the pair lives. When they rather calmly land, the man videoing the incident thanks the captain for saving his life. The captain says he told someone this plane wasn't good to go. A while back, a YouTuber named Hey Charmaine somehow came across a creepy doll head that she found fascinating in a way that was hard to explain. She gets a really weird feeling from it and knows this is more than an ordinary piece of plastic. So she puts it by her bed with the camera on at night to see what happens. One night, the creepy doll head moves all by itself, or so she says. It's pretty weird, but notice how the video has been sped up, a sign of stop motion photography. If this video was shown at regular speed, I would be more likely to believe it, but the movements look very abrupt, like somebody kept repositioning the doll a little at a time and sped up the video to create the illusion of movement. This bizarre video of Space Mountain was recorded by a YouTuber named Jake Tungsten. Jake originally recorded it just to have a memory of the thrilling ride forever, but when he reviewed it later, he saw what in his words was a real ghost. Some sort of phantasm does seem to briefly materialize and hover in the right side of the screen as the roller coaster passes by. Then the same thing happens as the roller coaster climbs upwards. Finally, a transparent figure briefly appears to the right of the track during the descent. I'm not sure if these are real or just some sort of hologram projections created by Disney, but the man who recorded this is absolutely convinced that he has caught a ghost on tape. It could even be the famous Mr. One-Way ghost seen in the previous video. If you have ever seen anything similar on the Space Mountain ride, let me know. Together, maybe we can verify this rumor or finally put it to rest. A YouTuber named Tracy Slaughter and her family hear a disturbance at the top of the steps, and they grab the camera to record what they are seeing for proof. It starts out very hard to see at first, but soon a pale white outline slowly appears against the wall. The head becomes visible in the very center of the room where the two wall patterns meet.
I didn't say lights.
Oh
You didn't say lights. Did you say go across? I like go across the top of the landing.
If you still don't see it, don't feel bad. The next part is much more obvious. Keep looking at the center of the stairway to see it.
It's only just gone across the top of the landing, and that's moving.
Can you ever see it?
Oh,
A being of pure white energy rushes down the steps and heads straight at them. If you play it in slow motion, you can see something actually comes around the corner and charges down the steps at them, sending everyone scattering. I guess this could be special effects, but I would like to get your opinion. The way everyone screams at the exact same time with true panic in their voices makes me think it could be real, in which case I'm glad they got out of there fast. If it was rushing forward to possess one of them, then I truly hope it does not succeed. Costa Rica is full of many beautiful sights. Under your pillow is not one of them.
Scorpion on my pillow.
Is it alive?
I'd say it's very much still alive. A gigantic stinger is curled high above at the ready. I don't know if he was sleeping under this terrifying creature all night, but I think he might have been. If so, he's really lucky he never fluffed the pillow. Seriously though, I really want to know what kind of scorpion this is, and how risky this event really was. Ghost hunting YouTuber D-Dog Michael finds what he's looking for in this terrifying video. As he explores this abandoned place, the sounds are undeniable.
저기요. 소리야? 누구 있죠?
He hears another noise, like murmuring.
무슨 소리야? 뭐라는 거야?
He then hears a snapping noise, like something walking, and for a moment he thinks he sees something.
어? 잠깐만 가지 잠깐만 다시 가지 말고.
Then there's a jingling right next to him. A series of unexplained events happen. Later in that same room, more mysterious things unfold.
조금만 둘러보고 나가겠습니다.
It almost sounds like he's choking. Things get darker from there.
에휴, 뭐? 에휴.
Michael hears something, and then he sees it. Here it is again. There's definitely a shadow moving in the darkness. Is it a person or a spirit? My vote is for the latter, because I don't think I've ever seen a creepier house. What if you walked into a grocery store and the man across the aisle did this? Published to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Calligram, this video will make you cringe and then maybe throw up a little in your mouth. This is not an illusion. The man in this video, Alexander, is a Russian gymnast who can turn his head 180 degrees. During gymnastics, he discovered that his body was incredibly flexible, particularly his vertebrae. He wanted to test how far this flexibility could go, so he decided to push himself. Alexander explains, I worked on this step by step, going a little further each time, and one day I was able to turn my head all the way around. When I do, it takes energy from my whole body. The complete 180 is like a horror movie. It only took some practice for the gymnast to twist his head around like an owl, but that's not true for just anyone. Alexander's doctor suggests the next swiveling ability is not an act that you can train for. He thinks the trait is congenital. The doctor recommends not to try this at home. For Alexander, though the party trick takes complete concentration to pull off, the act fills his body with a strange energy, and he doesn't feel like himself in the moment. Still, he calls it absolutely normal, and says the twisty neck doesn't hurt one bit. Funny, it hurts me just to see it. Two friends are walking around the haunted Matlock Cemetery in Iowa when they see something possibly watching them from afar, a white head that's barely visible behind a tree.
This is scary. Did you see that? Oh my god! What? Did you see that? What was that?
They aren't sure what it is until they go up to the tree. It was behind and get a closer look, or should I say it gets a closer look at them.
Oh my god! What was that? Oh! Oh!
Here it is again, a man wearing baggy clothes and a possibly white mask, though his face is too blurry to tell. I don't know if this was a maintenance worker, one of their friends, or a genuine creeper looking to do them harm, but I do think they made the right choice getting out of there, and I hope for their sakes they never went back. What is this thing drifting in the sky over Poland? This mysterious video was posted in a private Polish Facebook group and shared to the UFO subreddit by Redditor Revolutionary Kale 46. Let's watch. It floats undisturbed over the field, even peaceful in its descent. Unfortunately, the clip ends there, and we don't see if or where it lands. Some Redditors think it's a Mondo Shawin ship looking after the elements. That actually looks pretty spot on to me. It's got my vote. This video was recorded in Portugal sometime in 2001. It starts out with a group of friends just playing around with a home camera, which was pretty much considered a novelty back then. They are filming everything in the house for no reason at all for a long time, until they get bored and decide to try and contact some spirits. To do this, they make one of their friends named Nelson stand in a circle and concentrate in silence. Maybe it's just the power of suggestion, but Nelson sways for a bit and then tumbles to the ground. They aren't sure what to make of this. At this point, neither am I. So they make Nelson do it again, as they are trying to summon a spirit through Nelson for a second time. Something unexpected happens. This time another friend, Celestino, falls to the ground and begins convulsing. When he gets up, he is no longer the same person. If Celestino is acting here, he's doing an excellent job. Look at how his shoulder blades come jutting out of his back as he stands up aggressively. That definitely does not look normal. The rest of the video is them tracking Celestino as he behaves strangely outside. They don't know what to do, but at the same time they don't want to lose sight of him. Eventually they get split up, and when the one with the camera finds his friends again, none of them are in good shape.
Merda, foda-se, que é isto? O que é isto? Merda!
I really hope that this was just a fake video. It does almost seem like the Blair Witch Project at times, which was very popular in 2001. Then again, I wouldn't underestimate the power behind conjuring spirits, so I'll leave it up to you to decide. Sometimes you come across video footage on YouTube that just gives you a strange, unsettling feeling in the pit of your stomach, despite appearing relatively harmless. This clip is one of those types. Abner H7 posted the video titled Movo 10 to Reddit. The clip begins with an emergency warning sound and reads, "Please hold, playback will begin." A dark screen appears to show the woods at night. The phrase "Hollow was alive" flashes scratchily on the screen for a moment, leaving viewers to wonder what that hollow lie is. The walk through the dark forest starts to morph into an unsettling funhouse mirror. The leaves on the ground sway and distort. Another phrase flashes across the screen reading, "They are making it real. Who are they? What is being made real? We are left to guess." Continued shots of the leaves, branches, and grass in the darkness are replaced, suddenly by a shot of the moon. Then one more message appears, "Help us." The clip then ends with another high-pitched sound, an official message indicating the playback is complete. What does this creepy clip mean? And why is this YouTube channel full of them? What would you do if you came across this hairy humanoid in the wild? Published to YouTube in December of 2018, YouTuber Evangelica Salazar commented on the video. This is a duende. It's a humanoid creature that is rare and talked about throughout the years. These infamous creatures dress themselves and live in deep holes in caves/forests. If this is indeed a duende, this strange folkloric creature's name comes from the Spanish phrase duende casa, which means professor of a house. Some describe the creature as a mischievous house guest. However, in other cultures, the hairy beast takes various turns. If this hairy creature is really a duende, you'd better watch where you step. These flats are supposed to be abandoned, so who is in this window? Posted to TikTok by Scared to Death Zero, this crew is looking around an abandoned encampment at night when they see movement in one of the upper windows. Zooming in, there's no one there, but then they move their flashlight from the window and the figure again peeks out from behind a curtain. Many in the comments are completely freaked out, while some think it's a squatter. Others are not so sure. They say it has no face. What is this thing? Would you try to find out? A man claims that he keeps experiencing paranormal activity in his dining room and nowhere else. He feels unsafe and decides to leave a camera running in the dining room to see what goes on when he's not around. Nothing happens for a while, but then something comes along in the window that looks questionable. This is the zoomed in version. A tiny face appears to peek out at them from the glass panel on the bottom right before darting out of sight. You can't really make out any of its features, but notice how some orbs float by shortly before this happens. It's hard to tell if it's a paranormal creature or just a small animal, but I wouldn't want to be left alone in the house to find out. A YouTuber in India named Ankur Kashyap Vlogs claims to have filmed real paranormal evidence. A spooky ghost caught on tape while driving around late at night. A person on a bike is up ahead. They pull up to him and what happens next is terrifying. The narrow, unlit bridge must have claimed a life or two, because the man on the bike is suddenly no more, as in gone, vanished. He expects to pass him by, but goes through him instead. Tell me if you can see any jump cuts where he paused the camera to make it look like the man disappeared. It seems like one continuous shot, and if so, then that's just plain creepy. When a YouTuber named Lil Goofy is exploring some trails with his friend, they decide to take a rest. That's when someone decides it's time to make them run. Somebody who's probably been following them for a while. The sun is settling, but there's still enough light to catch a potential lurker video on their helmet cam. At 1 minute and 8 seconds, they think the strange man waves hello, but he might be waving around something sharp instead. They debate what to do next, and then he makes the decision for them when he runs straight at them. They lose him fast and crouch down in the weeds to let the lunatic run past, and then they go back to their car. What's weird about this video, assuming that it's real, is that he's dressed like a normal person. You wouldn't think twice about passing the stranger on a trail until they are already following you. It's probably one of their friends, but we'll never know for sure, and that's what makes it creepy. A YouTuber named Dan Loganiffy shot this Disneyland footage almost 10 years ago, and it still remains a paranormal point of contention even today. Dan's filming the end of a typical Disney fireworks show when he sees something strange and zooms in. A gray specter appears to be admiring the show from atop his perch on the Walt Disney Castle. It watches the final barrage of fireworks for a bit longer and then silently disappears from sight. Some people think that this was just a fireworks technician wearing dark clothing, while others are convinced that this is a phantom and possibly even the ghost of Walt Disney himself. I'm not sure what it was, but I do agree that the timing is very eerie. I mean, the ghost or whatever it was does happen to show up right before the final high note and then disappears shortly afterwards, so that's definitely odd. Let me know what you think it was, and if you think the timing was just a coincidence. This little 2.5 foot tall fuzzy robot is called Leonardo, or Leo for short, and in 2002 when everyone was playing PlayStation 2 and watching DVDs, this robot was already learning how to think, feel, and respond.
He's alive! He's alive!
Leo was created at the MIT Media Lab in Massachusetts. I know that doesn't look scary at all, but that's the whole point. It's designed so you won't want to be afraid of it. They want you to come closer so that it can learn from you. There's something disturbing about a fuzzy robot exploiting our natural trust for cute animals as a way to help it learn more about interacting with people. I doubt that they would need to downplay its appearance so greatly if the concept of AI wasn't so dangerous and scary to begin with. Anyway, Leo quickly learned how to do stuff after being shown only one time.
Press the red button.
Note how in this next part, Leo is not asked to press the buttons at all, but does so anyway.
Have you learned to turn all the buttons on? Very good.
Again, Leo was not asked to press them. It was asked if it knew how to press them. It correctly assumed that was what she was going to ask of it next. Even today's robots can barely predict what humans want, but this robot, who is 2 decades old, is able to make its own decisions. Next, a scientist flies an object around so that Leo can learn how to track things with its mounted camera eyes. Much like Leo's harmless appearance, they use an Elmo doll to disarm our senses. It's able to track this Elmo doll without problem. It learns how to identify and track red things if asked. Here it remembers Big Bird's face and is able to find Big Bird when asked.
Can you find Big Bird?
Leo has a neutral expression at first. When the scientist says that Big Bird is a friend, Leo likes him.
Hey Leo, look at Big Bird. Don't you think he's great?
It can also be trained to not like something.
Leo, Cookie Monster is very bad. He's very bad, Leo. He's a scary monster who wants to get your cookies.
If Leo can be taught how to fear or love, then he could also be taught how to hate and destroy. Think about what a bigger robot could do with these abilities. It could be trained to be a police robot, a self-learning face-scanning cyborg that can be taught to do great good or great evil. Or even more terrifying, maybe it could come to the conclusion of what's good and what's evil on its own. Leo could be an early prototype for all that and more. Again, this is just an opinion, but it creeps me out to keep robotic AI looking as soft, cuddly, and unassuming as possible. Just outside your door is very rarely a good thing, especially when they're these two fools. Ring posted this creepy video to Facebook in 2017. The video shows 2 strange men knocking on the front door of a home. The homeowner, away at work, is able to check in and see the men, whom she doesn't know. When they notice her security camera, the pair suspiciously bolt away. They return to their vehicle and back out of the drive, only to, a minute later, return, open the door, and literally try to kick it in. The homeowner, seeing their arrival from afar, attempts to speak to them over the security system, informing them that the cops are on their way.
Cops are on their way.
After failing to kick the door in, the men return to their vehicle and hastily drive off again. Facebooker Stay Hodgkin notes that these two people wouldn't have been reprimanded for merely knocking, but then they decided to return when they knew a security camera was posted up and committed property damage. Not bright in the least. Ring relays a very satisfying conclusion to this video, writing, although Kay was at work when these two visitors came by, she was able to share her Ring video with her neighbors online and ultimately confirm their identities. The information was passed along to the police and they caught the guys. Now that's the perfect example of a neighborhood watch. Smallmouth Crush is making a fishing video on the Potomac River near Washington, D.C. He's drifting by when further down the riverbank something strange catches his eye. A head is sticking out of the water, long black hair. Her back is to him. He looks at the head for a long time, unable to mentally process what he's seeing and not sure what to do. He gives the object a poke just to make sure it is what he fears. It has a face and it is exactly what he's afraid of. I think we are all thinking it's the same thing, especially from this distance, but when he pokes at it some more, an artificial neck joint pops free from the mud. This is a mannequin head, not a real one.
Dude, what is happening? Look at this thing. This is nasty.
Not finding a body is a relief, I suppose, but it also begs the question as to why anyone would take a blindfolded mannequin head out into the woods in the first place. I've heard of people simulating their demented desires onto mannequins before moving on to the real thing as part of their transformation into a full-blown psycho. There's a lot of creepy people out there, I guess. And to further prove my point, he looks up to find something even more sickening nearby.
Look at that freaky thing. I'm out of here.
It looks like somebody has been using this spot to do some pretty twisted fantasizing, and as he speeds away, I can't help but wonder what if that's not a doll. This is said to be a real ghost video from Singapore. A woman jogs down the road when she has a creepy encounter with a stranger who may or may not be paranormal. She doesn't hear any footsteps until he is running away. It's like he was never behind, and when she looks to where he just was, he's gone. Then he passes again and things get even scarier. You could pass somebody twice like this if you ran a wide loop around them, but why he would do this and scare her is something I doubt we could ever explain. I don't think this is paranormal, but I do think acting this way is not normal. I think it's most likely a short film, but there are no credits, and it presents itself as a real ghost video caught on camera in the description. Thank you so much for getting me to 30,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers next. Thank you.